Well, with a title like that, I can almost certainly expect a nuanced, scientifically accurate discussion of climate change. Or possibly an actual greenhouse. That one seems more likely. Some scientist is hanging out in G.I. Joe HQ, and this jackass in orange, whose name I don't know, and probably 30 people are going to yell at me in the comments for that, steals his clipboard and explains it in his, well, I'd call it Southern by way of New England accent.
And as you can see, it gets more miles to the gallon.
He learned all this from a couple of lines on a page labeled Fubble Chart. Impressive. Then a shadowy janitor calls Cobra Commander to inform him that he's stealing the eco-fuel. Because if there's one thing terrorists want above all, it's to neutralize their carbon footprint. The janitor enters the so-called classified area where a cowboy and a football player are hanging out, and everyone laughs when he spills his bucket of mop water. Man, these guys are dicks. They deserve to be incapacitated by a bucket, which is what actually happens. I don't think it's a trick ninja bucket or anything either, just a regular bucket. A further Joe gets a mop stuck on his face. Elite Commando Team! As the action janitor runs off with a canister of the special fubble, the scientist threatens to tell his supervisor, to which he responds with,
Good luck, Professor. My supervisor's Cobra.
I missed this show, you guys. The Joes attempt to give chase, but they fall in a ditch. The Crimson Janitor flees to a residential neighborhood and into the greenhouse of this hilariously rotund fellow in overalls. I assume he's hilarious because it's the 1980s and he's a fat guy in overalls. Also, his name is Harvey. At least it's not Irving, I guess. The cops respond to his call, and in the ensuing struggle, the fubble breaks open into a plant. And apparently it interacts with some secret plant food formula that the overall dude made, so prepare for hilarity. Cobra decides to search the thousands of greenhouses in this town by using undercover Crimson Guards, one of whom is a lady. Damn it, Hasbro, I've had about enough of your SJW agenda. I must have spent 15 seconds looking at and listening to a character who wasn't male. This is unacceptable. Then there's this out-of-nowhere swipe at people from California.
Sleeping with banana plants. Jeez, must be from California.
Make of that what you will. Back at Harvey's greenhouse, the bananas and eggplants are huge now. Naturally, he immediately exploits this and takes the haul to that most lucrative of venues, the county fair. Some of the patrons dare mock Harvey, so the grapes start hurling themselves at people. Harvey apparently takes this as a cue to start worshipping the plants as gods. Then the Joe show up, followed by Destro. And then a bunch of fighting happens along with some particularly bad quipping. And everyone is pulled down into the vegetable-strewn hellscape. The fact that nobody slips on a giant banana peel during this sequence is a seriously wasted opportunity in my opinion. Destro returns to Cobra HQ not with the fubble, but with a giant bean. And Cobra Commander, who can admittedly be a little irrational at times, is rightfully kind of pissed off. Then he throws the magic bean out the window and an actual beanstalk starts growing. Sadly, it does not lead to a land in the clouds containing a giant roadblock saying stuff like, "Fee fi fo fum, this episode is really dumb." But I wish it did. It doesn't take long for Destro to convince the commander that Cobra could conquer the world harnessing the power of giant vegetables, which seems a lot more on-brand for them than stealing some dumb jet fooble. They promptly take the operation to Chicago because, well, you know the old saying, if you want to conquer the world with giant vegetables, you start in Chicago. And if you ever wanted to see helicopters and tanks firing at oranges in a major Midwestern city, brother, this is the episode for you. More fighting, and the Crimson Twins nearly plummet to their deaths, but are saved by giant cabbage. Destro escapes a helicopter chase by using celery for cover. Then G.I. Joe develops a gas that kills the vegetables because, yeah, why keep a nearly limitless supply of food around? That might actually help people. But Cobra did this, so it's obviously bad news. We wrap things up with a scene at the county fair where a Joe actually exploits Harvey's PTSD by disguising himself as giant corn. A real American hero!